At my 60th birthday party, my daughter made a toast to my real inspiration, my stepmom, who taught me what a true woman looks like. I laughed, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. My husband beamed as everyone clapped. I stood there, holding the cake I baked myself. When I asked her later why she said that, she shrugged. You raised me, but she rescued me. I spent that night alone in my bedroom while they all watched home videos without me. My 60th birthday was supposed to be one of those days you remember forever, the good kind of memory, the one you pull out years later and smile about. I had been planning it for months. Nothing crazy, just family and a few close friends at our house in Asheville, North Carolina. I spent the entire week cleaning, decorating, cooking. I even baked my own cake because I wanted it to be special. It was my favorite. A homemade lemon cake with real buttercream frosting, the same one my mother used to make when I was a little girl. My husband, Mark, had been acting weird all week. I figured it was just nerves about hosting, because let's be honest, he was never good at handling stress. And my daughter, Sophie, had been busy too. She kept saying how excited she was, how much she wanted to make it a day to remember. I should have known better. The house filled up pretty quickly. My sister drove in from Virginia. My old college friend Laura showed up with her husband. Even Mark's coworkers came, people I barely knew but smiled at politely because that's what you do. We grilled out in the backyard, sipped wine, laughed about old times. It was nice. Not perfect, but nice. The kind of nice you hold on to when you don't get much else. After we ate, everyone gathered around for cake and speeches. I carried out the cake, candles lit, everyone singing. I was sweating from standing too close to the grill. My feet hurt, my back ached, but I was happy. Really, genuinely happy. Then Sophie stood up with her glass raised. She cleared her throat, looked around the yard, smiled wide like she was about to say something heartfelt. To my real inspiration, she said loudly, her voice carrying over the breeze and the soft buzz of cicadas. To the woman who taught me what being a true woman looks like. My stepmom. Everyone laughed at first. A nervous, polite kind of laugh. Me included. I thought she was making some weird joke. I even chuckled a little and shook my head. But then, I saw Mark. He wasn't laughing. He was beaming. Like he was proud. Like he agreed. The clapping started. Hesitant at first, then louder. Real, genuine clapping. I stood there like an idiot, holding the cake I had baked for hours, smiling like I was in on the joke. But it wasn't a joke. It wasn't even close. Sophie set her glass down and hugged her stepmom, Mark's second wife, Bethany, who had been part of their lives for about 10 years now. Bethany, with her perfect hair and perfect nails and perfect fake smile. She looked at me and gave me this sad little nod, like she pitied me. I didn't even know what to do. I just stood there, stuck, frozen, while people started eating cake and chatting again like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't just been slapped across the face in front of everyone I loved. Later that night, after everyone left, I found Sophie in the kitchen putting away leftovers. I asked her why she said what she did. She shrugged. Like it was no big deal. You raised me, she said, without even looking up, but she rescued me. I swear my heart cracked right down the middle when she said it. I didn't even fight back. What was the point? She meant it. She really meant it. Mark and Bethany and Sophie ended up piling into the living room with leftover wine and old home videos. I heard them laughing through the walls, saw the flicker of the TV under the door crack. They didn't even ask if I wanted to join. I sat in the bedroom alone, staring at the half-deflated balloons and half-eaten cake. I thought about every night I stayed up helping Sophie with homework when she cried over algebra, every birthday party I handmade decorations for, every fever I sat up with her through. And none of it mattered. None of it meant anything. I couldn't even cry. I just sat there numb. All the little things I overlooked started pouring back into my mind. How Mark started taking more work trips about 10 years ago, right around when Bethany got hired at his office. How Sophie suddenly started spending weekends with her cool new friend, Bethany, instead of me. How family dinners turned into Mark and Sophie laughing about inside jokes I wasn't part of. I ignored it. I made excuses for it. I told myself it was just growing pains, just change, just life. But that night, sitting alone in that bedroom while my family laughed without me, I knew. I knew I had been replaced. I was nothing more than the help to them. The cook, the cleaner, the background character. I should have screamed, thrown things, called them all out, but I didn't. I just sat there, letting the truth sink in like poison. And somewhere deep in my gut, a fire started. Not the kind that burns fast and wild. The slow kind. The kind that smolders, that bides its time. I didn't know what I was going to do yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to spend whatever time I had left playing maid and fool for people who would clap when I was replaced. They wanted Bethany to be the matriarch of their perfect little family? Fine. Let's see how they liked it when the real glue holding it all together quietly slipped away. I went to sleep that night with a smile on my face for the first time in a long, long while. And not one of them noticed. The next morning, the house was a mess. Empty wine bottles lined the counter. Crumbs everywhere. Wrapping paper half-shoved into trash bags. The TV was still on, stuck in the blue DVD screen. I walked past it all like a ghost. No one else was awake yet. Mark and Bethany must have passed out in the living room. Sophie was upstairs, probably still dreaming sweet dreams about her real inspiration. I stood in the kitchen for a while, staring out the window at the backyard. The decorations were still fluttering in the breeze, sagging and sad. Leftover cake slices were melting under the sun. It would have been so easy to clean everything up. Make coffee. Cook breakfast. Pretend it never happened. That's what I had done for years. Instead, I grabbed my keys, slipped on my shoes, and walked out the door. I didn't leave a note. I drove to the Waffle House down the street, ordered coffee and hash browns, and just sat there, watching cars pass by, listening to strangers laugh in their booths. It felt weird, like stepping out of my own life and seeing it from the outside. I thought about what Sophie said, about Bethany rescuing her. Funny thing was, Sophie never needed rescuing. Not really. We had a good life. Maybe not a rich one, but there was always food, warmth, a safe place to land. I gave everything I had, every bit of myself. And still, it wasn't enough. Sitting in that Waffle House, something hardened inside me. A decision clicked into place, slow and solid. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to fight. I was going to disappear. And they were going to feel it. When I got back to the house, no one even noticed I'd been gone. Mark was outside fiddling with the grill. Sophie and Bethany were laughing over coffee like old roommates. I slipped past them up the stairs, into our bedroom. I pulled out 2 suitcases. It was weird how easy it was. Mechanical. Like packing for a weekend trip, not for good. I didn't take much. Just the important things, old photos, my mother's jewelry, some clothes, the cash I had squirreled away over the years. By the time they noticed me coming down the stairs with my bags, it was too late. "Where are you going?" Mark asked, half laughing like I was being dramatic. I smiled. Really smiled. Somewhere I'm appreciated. Sophie stood up, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. She looked at Bethany, who shrugged like she couldn't care less. I didn't stay to hear the excuses. I got in my car and drove away without looking back. For the next few weeks, I stayed with my sister in Roanoke. She didn't ask questions. She just let me be. I spent a lot of time sitting on her porch, sipping coffee, watching the world move on without me. And, for the first time in years, I felt free. But here's the thing about walking away from people like Mark and Sophie and Bethany. They don't realize right away what they lost. At first, it was probably easy. Bethany could cook, right? She could clean. She could host. She could be their perfect new mom. But little cracks started to show. Sophie called me once, a few weeks in. Her voice was tight, stressed. She wanted to know where I kept the tax papers. I told her I didn't live there anymore and hung up. Mark emailed me a month later, begging for help fixing some insurance mess. I never replied. Bethany sent a card around Thanksgiving. No words, just a picture of a turkey and a sad, shaky signature. I ripped it in half and threw it away. They had built their perfect little family on my back. And now that I was gone, the foundation was crumbling. I wasn't there to remind Mark about appointments. I wasn't there to babysit Sophie's 2-year-old son when she wanted to go out. I wasn't there to handle the bills, the insurance, the birthday parties, the holiday dinners, the 1,000 tiny invisible tasks that make a family work. Turns out Bethany was good at buying pretty things and taking selfies, but not much else. I heard through a mutual friend that Mark started drinking more. That Sophie moved back home for a while because things with her boyfriend fell apart. That Bethany and Sophie had a huge fight one night, screaming, crying, neighbors calling the cops. I should have felt bad. Maybe a better person would have. But I didn't. I felt peace. I had spent decades carrying them, making life smooth and easy for them. And they tossed me aside the minute someone flashier came along. Now they were drowning without me. And I was living my best life. I got a little apartment downtown, near the farmer's market. Small, cozy, full of light. I took a part-time job at the local library. Nothing fancy, but it made me happy. Real happy. I met people who saw me, really saw me, not just as mom or wife or housekeeper. For the first time in my life, I wasn't someone's backup plan. I was just me. But that's not even the twist. One rainy afternoon, about a year after I left, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. Later, curiosity got the better of me, and I listened. It was Mark. His voice was broken. I could hear it, clear as day. He said he was sorry. Said he missed me. Said he realized too late how much I held everything together. Said he was miserable. Begged me to call him back. I deleted the voicemail without a second thought. Not because I was angry, but because I truly, honestly didn't care anymore. That's the real revenge, isn't it? Not screaming, not throwing it back in their faces. Just living well, living free, and letting them rot in the mess they made without you. About 6 months after I deleted Mark's voicemail, life settled into a rhythm. Mornings at the library. Afternoons tending to my little balcony garden. Evenings spent reading or grabbing dinner with my neighbor, Joyce, a widow who had more sass in her pinky finger than most people have in their whole body. I thought I was done with them, Mark, Sophie, Bethany. Thought they'd fade away like a bad dream. But one Sunday afternoon, there was a knock at my door. I wasn't expecting anyone. I peeked through the peephole and my stomach dropped. It was Sophie. She looked wrecked. Hair a mess, dark circles under her eyes, holding a plastic grocery bag like a sad suitcase. I almost didn't open the door. But curiosity got me. That old itch to fix things, even though I knew better. I cracked the door open. Didn't invite her in. She started crying immediately. I didn't know where else to go, she said. Bethany kicked me out. Turns out, after I left, Sophie leaned hard on Bethany. Too hard. Moved back in with her and Mark, expecting to be babied the way I used to do. But Bethany had no patience for it. After a few months of fights and late nights and broken promises, Bethany kicked Sophie out and told her not to come back. Mark didn't stop her. And now here Sophie was, standing on my doorstep, not the proud daughter who toasted someone else at my birthday party, but a scared, lost girl who didn't know where else to turn. Part of me wanted to slam the door. Instead, I stepped outside and sat down on the porch bench. You can sit, I said, pointing next to me. We sat in silence for a while. Sophie sniffled. I watched the sun dip behind the buildings. Finally, she spoke. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't answer. I didn't understand, she said, voice cracking. I thought she loved me more. I thought she was better. I was stupid. Still, I stayed quiet. Because it wasn't about her saying the right words. It was about whether she meant them. After a long pause, Sophie pulled something out of her plastic bag. A scrapbook. It was the one I made for her when she graduated high school. Pictures of her first day of kindergarten, birthday parties, ballet recitals, school plays. Every memory I had carefully saved, glued, and labeled. She opened it on her lap, flipping through the pages, tears dropping onto the pictures. I forgot everything you did, she said. Bethany made it easy to forget. She said it was just normal, what moms do, no big deal. She made me think you didn't matter. She looked at me, desperate. But you did. You do. I wanted to hug her. God, did I want to. But something inside me had shifted too much. I couldn't just go back. You need to fix yourself, I said quietly. You can't use me like a safety net when you fall. She nodded, wiping her nose with her sleeve. I know. It wasn't an apology that made everything okay. It wasn't a magic fix. But it was honest. I told her she could stay the night. One night. I wasn't cruel. I gave her a blanket, a pillow, made her some tea. She curled up on the couch like a little girl. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the moon through the window, thinking about how love, real love, doesn't just disappear. But trust? Trust can vanish in an instant. The next morning, Sophie was gone before I woke up. She left a note. Thank you. I'm going to get my life together. I promise. I didn't know if she would. But for the first time, it wasn't my job to fix her. A few weeks later, another bomb dropped. I got a letter. A real paper letter, not an email or a text. From Mark. Not begging this time. Not asking for anything. Confessing. Apparently, Bethany wasn't the sweet, doting wife he thought she was. Once I was out of the picture, she started draining the bank accounts, racking up credit card debt, flirting with Mark's coworkers, spending weekends with friends that he later found out were more than friends. He found divorce papers in her car glove box one night after she passed out drunk. She was planning to leave him for someone younger, a new coworker she'd been seeing behind his back. Mark had lost the house, filed for bankruptcy, was living in a one-bedroom rental on the edge of town. He said he was sorry, said he missed me, said he made the biggest mistake of his life, said he wished he could undo it all. I read the letter once, then again, and then I fed it to the kitchen sink garbage disposal, one piece at a time, until nothing was left but wet pulp. I felt nothing. No anger. No triumph. No sadness. Just a cool, clear peace. They had built their little kingdom without me. And it had crumbled exactly the way it should. Somewhere deep inside, I knew this wasn't the last I'd hear from them. People like that, Mark, even Sophie, always come running back when the world turns cold. But I wasn't their warm place anymore. I was free. And I wasn't going back. Not ever. I thought it was over after that. But some people don't know when to quit. About 2 months after I shredded Mark's letter, Joyce came knocking at my door, breathless, holding her phone. You need to see this, she said. There it was. Bethany, standing on the steps of the courthouse in Asheville, crying for the cameras. Local news had picked it up because she made it sound juicy. Abandoned by my husband's bitter ex-wife. Left with all the debts. Destroyed by jealousy. She painted herself like the poor victim, spinning some wild story that I had secretly sabotaged their finances. Claimed I had hidden bills, mismanaged money on purpose before I ran away and left them to crash and burn. The story didn't name me, but anyone who knew us would know exactly who she was talking about. For a second, I just stood there, staring at the screen. Then, very calmly, I laughed. Because I had proof. Years of neatly organized folders. Bank statements, receipts, taxes, budgets, all clean, all clear, all showing that the house of cards fell after I left. I had packed it all up when I moved out, not out of spite, but because it was my work, my record, my history, and now it was my sword. I called a lawyer that afternoon. Not some big fancy name. Just a tough, scrappy woman named Carla who looked like she'd bite your hand off if you tried to shortchange her. I handed her the whole folder. I didn't even have to say much. The truth was there in black and white. Within 2 weeks, we filed a lawsuit for defamation. I wasn't playing their game anymore, whining, begging, trying to explain myself to people who never cared. Now, they could explain themselves to a judge. Word got out fast. The same local news station that covered Bethany's sob story was quick to cover the follow-up when the lawsuit went public. Suddenly, Bethany wasn't the poor, crying victim anymore. She was the liar getting sued. The courthouse was packed the day of the hearing. I wore a simple black dress. No makeup. No jewelry. Just clean, sharp, unbreakable. Bethany tried to avoid looking at me. Mark showed up too, but he didn't sit with her. He looked like a man who knew he was standing on a sinking ship. When my lawyer laid out the evidence, it was brutal. Every lie, every dollar, every scam Bethany pulled after I was gone. The judge didn't even let it drag out long. He ruled in my favor right there. Bethany was ordered to pay damages and publicly retract her story. The money didn't matter to me. The apology did. 1 week later, Bethany had to stand in the exact same spot outside the courthouse with the same cameras rolling and read a statement admitting she lied. I watched it from my living room, sipping a cold glass of lemonade. Her voice cracked as she said the words. She tried to cry again, but no one cared this time. Everyone could see her for what she really was. And Mark? He was standing off to the side. No one paid him any attention. Just another middle-aged man who lost everything chasing after something shiny and fake. Sophie never called me after the hearing. I wasn't surprised. Some things break too deep to fix. And maybe, in a way, I was just as guilty. I had spent so long making everything perfect, holding everything together, that I never taught them what real life looked like. I made it too easy for them to take me for granted. But the thing is, when people show you who they are, you have to believe them. Mark showed me. Bethany showed me. Even Sophie showed me. And this time, I believed them. The day after the apology aired, I packed a small bag. Not because I was running, but because I was moving forward. I booked a one-way ticket to Santa Fe, New Mexico. A place I had always wanted to see. Wide skies. Red rocks. Silence. A whole new life. At the airport, sitting at the gate, I watched the planes take off, one after another, climbing into that endless sky. I smiled to myself. Not the forced smile I used to wear at backyard parties or holiday dinners. A real one. A free one. I wasn't anyone's mother, anyone's wife, anyone's housekeeper. I was just me. The woman they never really saw. The woman who walked away and didn't look back. The woman who let the house burn while she built a better one on her own. And as my plane lifted off the runway, carrying me into that bright, blue open air, I didn't think about them. Not even once.